Hi, everybody. Welcome to A Deeper Journey. I'm Sher Safran. And I know every day I feel like I'm just so excited to have this show. Well, today my guest is going to give us the wisdom that so many have been wanting, especially in this time of a crazy economy. My guest is Patricia Aburdene, and I'm going to read a little bit about her and then bring her on real quick because we've got lots to talk about. Patricia Aburdene is one of the world's leading social forecasters, co-author of the #1 New York Times bestseller Megatrends 2000, and a world-renowned speaker. In 2011 and 2012, Patricia was named one of America's top 100 thought leaders in trustworthy business by Trust Across America. Recent lecture clients include Harley-Davidson, Deloitte, Herman Miller, IBM, and the Management Club of Vienna, Austria. For 25 years, Patricia has lectured in North and South America, Europe, Asia, and Australia. These speeches, along with her 5 Megatrend books, including Megatrends 2010 and her most recent book, Conscious Money, have transformed thousands of companies and millions of people's lives. I am really thrilled to have you on the show, Patricia Aburdene.
Well, not as thrilled as I am to meet you, Cher.
My husband, Rob, and I have been kind of reading this book together. I've been filling him in as I go and have been journaling and really just soaking up everything that you've shared. And I am really excited for you to share with our viewers your insights too. Yeah, it is that wonderful blend. Conscious Money is that wonderful blend of the very personal, and you tell wonderful stories, and I do want you to share some of those today as well. And then at the end of each chapter, you have reflections and resources and right action. And you give us opportunities to go through each of those steps to kind of interpret and incorporate what we've just read in the chapter. It's really wonderful. Then in 2010, you published another book that has done just another paradigm shift, and that is kind of on the heels of what we're going to be talking about today, which is your Conscious Money book. But you talk about, there's much more about being a conscious company than only being about consciousness.
And thank goodness there is, because that means that you and I will, when we talk about conscious money, can partner with companies whose consciousness and whose values are more like our own than traditional business or traditional capitalists might be. So let me just, shall we talk a little bit about conscious capitalism?
Please. Yes.
So in the traditional model of capitalism was summarized by Milton Friedman, the Nobel-winning economist, back in 1970 when he wrote, "The social responsibility of business is to make money." I believe he said to increase profits, to be precise. That was 1970. Many, many years later, this is truly an outdated vision of business, because certainly all of the new people coming on board, but other business people that are more your age and my age have known all along that this doesn't work, and that paradoxically, when you look at the whole of a business rather than just the bottom line, if you look at its customers, its employees, its investors, certainly investors are important, it's the communities that it lives in, the suppliers, and the planet at large. If you take that kind of a holistic view of business, you will be more successful, and I'll share with you a study that shows that, than the people who just look at the bottom line, who just care about investors. And this is study after study after study is coming out to show that. And I think you'd be surprised, a lot of our viewers and listeners would be surprised to know how many just plain good companies that we hear about every day. Well, let's go to this study because they include a lot of these companies. It was a study of 28 companies such as Costco, Johnson and Johnson, Google, Southwest Airlines, just good companies. Certainly they have good customer service, but also they care about all of their stakeholders, all the people who have a stake in the organization. And over a 10-year period, they outperformed, I'm going to use a business jargon word, but I'll explain it, the S&P 500, the 500 largest companies. These 28 companies that practice the stakeholder orientation outperformed them by a factor of 10. In other words, in 10 years, the S&P 500 went up 100%. They went up 1,000%.
Wow.
And in Conscious Money, I devote a whole chapter to this subject and give people lots of examples because people want to know. I advocate that the readers form partnerships with these conscious companies. These would be companies that you'd work for, that you'd invest in, that you'd buy their products. And so they want to know examples, and I list a bunch of them. And one of my favorite resources, I want to talk about resources now. One of my very favorite resources is the Fortune magazine list of the 100 best places to work for.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I got to say, and this is really important, the companies don't decide if they're good places to work for. This is voted on completely by the employees.
And as you say, consciousness wealth begins with us.
Yes.
We're not looking at the outside of steel or agriculture or even information. It's inside. And you walk us through this amazing journey, and I want to walk that with you without interruption. So I'm going to take a little quick break now, and then when we come back, I'm going to talk a little bit about values.
Perfect.
I really want people to buy this book because it is something that can guide us personally, just in our own sense of well-being, in our immediate financial world, but also then in the investment world as well. And it's that mind, heart, and body all in one that you bring to this whole issue of money. And I'm really appreciative that you put it into words and in this book, and I'm really grateful for you being on the show today.
The pleasure was entirely mine.
And we're back with Patricia Aburdene and Conscious Money. So there are 3 steps that you take us through in this book. And the first one is know thyself. And you talk about how essential it is that we understand what our own values are. And I love that in this book, Conscious Money, you give us about 44 words to choose from. And you ask like accountability, beauty, creativity, discipline, practicality, openness, meaning, goodness, simplicity, and tolerance. 44 amazing, all different kinds of words. And you say, choose 10 that you value the most. And then you say, choose 1. I found that so difficult, and I was really quite surprised because my word was integrity, and I was kind of bummed that it wasn't love. And then I kind of worked through it and thought, okay, now wait a minute. If I have integrity with myself and I treat people with integrity and accept their integrity, then it's naturally love, because otherwise it's fear, and I don't have fear if I'm in integrity. So that's how I made sense of my integrity word. But that process was fascinating for me.
Thank you so much for sharing that story. I think I was very surprised when I took this values assessment, self-assessment test decades ago, because I thought mine was going to be some lofty, transcendent spiritual value. And on purpose, I mixed what you could call transcendent spiritual values with more practical values. And I was shocked. Now, you got to give me credit. I did let them go from 10 to 3 before they had to go to 1.
That's true.
So 10, 3, 1. And I was shocked that mine was just as you were, that mine was resilience. And then I thought, well, wait a minute, that makes sense. Because how can I practice compassion or love or justice if I can't pick myself up off the floor after a big disappointment?
So why is it so important that we know our top value?
Because we never think about that. Because we're all leading these busy lives. And if we are going to live a more conscious life, and if we want to integrate our values and our consciousness into our money life, we need to know what they are. When we talk about mindful consumers, for example, it's a great way to think about, well, what do values have to do with shopping? And yet, if you look at 4 values: justice, health, sustainability. There's one more. I can't get it to mind right now. It really, if you explore those values, it says a lot about what you might do as a shopper. If you're really committed to justice, you're probably interested in the fair trade trend. You probably want to buy products that are fair trade, that help farmers by paying reasonable prices for a product so that they can make a reasonable living. So one brand, it started out really with fair trade coffee, as we all know, and it's moved from there to tea, to fruit, to sugar, to olive oil, to wine from South Africa, and on and on and on. So that value of justice would be found in that area. Well-being, boy, that is a word that is so underrated. I mean, all the great things, all the higher levels of awareness like joy and passion, they all come out of a fundamental state of well-being. And that's a word, that's one of my favorite words. I'm always saying, all right, what's my emotional well-being today? What's my spiritual well-being today? And that's just a great word. Values are the positive side that we're conscious of. But we all have, when it comes to money, we also have so not so positive ideas and emotions, like fear, like greed, like money doesn't grow on trees, like money is the root of all evil. We wouldn't be human if we didn't have these limiting thoughts and beliefs and emotions. And so we got to take a look at that. We got to just take a look at that. And I suggest a simple, not easy. I'm very big on simple, but not easy. So you can remember the simple framework and know that you're going to have to go through this a few times. It's not, instant, wonderful stuff. No, it's a commitment. It's a journey, if you will. So what do we do when we hear our negative chatter about money? I remember one day I was out on a walk and I was mad that I wasn't getting enough speaking assignments in my view. And I was out, how come they're not calling me? How come they invited so-and-so and da-da-da, and I'm going on, and I go, geez, Patricia, no wonder the phone isn't ringing. You have got so much negative chatter going on. And so we observe ourselves. We observe our beliefs. And we're going to find the negative stuff. So what do? We don't judge ourselves. We accept it. We wouldn't be human if we didn't have this stuff. And we don't, for goodness sakes, slap a new age affirmation on top of it and hope that that's going to change anything. No, we accept it. Okay, I have that going on. I have this negative stuff. We just accept it. And we continue to observe, and we continue to accept. And finally, when the time is right, when you know the time is right, we choose anew. What emotion would I like to have around money? What thoughts would I like to have around money? And then when we've done all that observation, and when we've done all of that acceptance, then a new statement that we choose can maybe take root for us. A gentle, simple statement, like maybe, for example, if you were raised in a money is the root of all evil kind of family, you might just have a simple statement like, I have to agree that in certain circumstances, money can certainly be a very good thing. Or if you were a scarcity person, you might say, some way, somehow, things always work out, and what I need will come to me. That's a theme that, for me, runs through all of this, which is that when you attempt to integrate values and consciousness with money, do so with a nice balance between heart and head. You're going to make better financial decisions when you have the heart involved. Because whatever you want to do, whether it's launching a business in consciousness like those people, or getting out of debt, if you're someone who's in an enormous amount of debt, or saving for retirement, it is going to take a fair amount of time. And you can't afford to get frustrated. You've got to hang in there and give it some time and make a proper investment in yourself and in your future. And when you balance both heart and head, when you make a decision, this is how I came to conscious money. I wanted more of my financial choices to reflect my inner life. I had a financial life that was completely outer directed. I made many errors when it came to money. I overspent. I made some bad investment decisions. Usually the bad investment decisions came when I relied too much on experts, and I invested in companies that I didn't really believe in. And so for me, it became essential to bring the heart in, bring the values in, but also honor the head, heart and head in balance. And if you know anything about the chakras, what's between the heart and the head? The throat chakra, the choice, ability to truly choose opens up. When you have both engaged, when a step that you're going to take, whether it's a relationship or a job that you're going to take, an investment that you want to make, when both the heart and the head check, you're going to make a pretty darn good decision, because your mind is settled, because the head has been honored, your emotions are calm because the heart has been honored, and your path is clear ahead. And you can find the perseverance, especially through the heart, to continue forward and not just get discouraged, and to make those good decisions.
Wow, that's beautiful. And I made a really good decision to have you on the show. Wow, I was so looking forward to that show, and I'm thrilled that you were able to be a part of it too. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.